Hey everyone, and welcome to the Hunt Developer livestream. Today we are here with your favorite host, Dennis.
Hi.
And myself, Benza, or BD Boy. You may know me from the Discord channel or like answering your social media questions all the time, but now I'm the stream as well, and it's nice to meet you all. Today we are going to talk about the next update for Hunt, which is update 1.4.4, and man, we have a lot of stuff for you this time.
Absolutely. Glad for us, glad for you, and glad for us especially actually to join us, Spence. So yeah, good to have a new face here as also, and yeah, let's rock the stream.
Yeah. Let's hope I don't break anything and the stream doesn't just end randomly in the middle, guys. So
it's new terrain for all of us. It will work out.
So let's just dive into it then, I guess.
Yeah, let's go for it.
1.4.4.
1.4.4. It's like the first big updates in, what is it, like a month now, roughly, right? Following the tradition of the last two updates is being a bug fix focused update. And basically on the road to 1.5, the next step. So yeah, let's have a look at the main points here.
Yeah, so you guys know that in the last updates, and including this update, we've been focusing a lot of stability and bug fixes. And we have some cool numbers for you to show, actually, that in 1.4.2, we fixed 83 bigger bugs. And out of that, we had like 5 or 6 requested by the community bugs, because obviously we have bugs that we find internally and also bugs that you guys report and you asked us to focus on it, such as like, for example, I think in that update, we had the issue where the camera got stuck when you aim down sight, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then after that, we had 1.4.3, where we fixed the 23 bugs, but out of that, we had more focused on the communities one. So you may have noticed that we fixed like very big bugs, like getting stuck after vaulting, which has been like a very big issue, and like desyncing from the game, and the well-known ghost bug.
Exactly, like the ghost bug was a big one. Yeah.
And this update, we have even more fixes, 118 bigger bugs. So that's a big number for sure. And our QA team has been working really hard to make the game as good as possible for you guys. And let's just name a few bugs this update. For example, there was a not sometimes igniting properly, like when the hunter was on slopes, for example. There was also, I think, a continuation from the getting stuck bug, like the second part of it that we fixed. And I think, let me see, the highlight. Oh yeah, that was a nice one that came back, I think, a couple of times over development that we fixed again, which is the AI being able to detect the player on spawn. That's
which
always fun, isn't it?
it's like the worst place this could possibly happen. But yeah, like, I mean, these are all like some of the highlights, obviously, but there's more of it, and you will see it mostly with like stability. You see it with crashes. You see it a lot also with like movement fixes, etc. That's where things are just a bit clunky, etc. But we get to some of those points actually a bit more in detail down the line now of the stream.
Exactly, and yeah, as we mentioned, then out of these bugs, there was more than 10 critical bugs that you guys helped us with investigating and fixing. And on that point, we would also like to ask your help in the ongoing investigation, especially for 2 bugs this time. So we have one bug when you are unable to loot weapons and it says ammo full. For that, please contact our Discord mods or our developers there and send us any info you have. And then there's one more bug that we would need your help in investigating, which is sometimes you randomly un-ADS from the weapon, which can be really annoying. For that, we would need your game logs. So again, please contact any mods on our Discord or any dev you see up and say like, hey, I have this bug, I un-ADS, and they will say, oh, thank you, that's cool, please send us your game log. Then we will collect that and try to fix it as soon as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, like especially the getting out of ADS bug. There were 2 parts to it. One was already fixed in the previous update, as you remember, but there's still one smaller chance for it to still happen from a different path, and for that we need a bit more insight there from you guys.
Exactly. But I think it's time to move into the juicier stuff. So
All
what's
right,
new,
so
Dennis?
new content. I mean, obviously, it's not all just bug fixes. We always try to sneak in a couple of goodies here and there as well. So let's talk about new traits first. There's 2 of them this update, so let's see what they are. The WHISPERSMITH. Now, WHISPERSMITH is a new trait that you can use maybe as part of your stealth suite, like where Gator Legs, Silent Killer, all of these things might come in handy, and it reduces noise when you switch weapons. So the interesting part here is that you have a chance to kind of like quickly go out, bring out your knife. You quickly can maybe swap to your hand cannon or whatever in a situation where you know there's like danger close and just want to get ready. You want to prepare for something. You want to get in that room now, but you want to have your gun ready. It just complements a little bit. So ninja content.
So this WHISPERSMITH will be available at rank 22, so pretty early in the game, like kind of mid-game, but on the earlier side. And it will only cost 2 upgrade points, so if you're a stealthy player, I think it's definitely worth taking it.
Yeah, in playtesting, I think what actually worked out very well with this is that you can use it like to kind of get a bit closer, and like this moment where before you kind of rush into the room, etc., just like getting the right kit out, or just you're sitting in a bush and these guys are just like trying to sneak up around you. Your partners are down, you're like on the last health chunk, and that guy's coming a bit too close. You can actually bring the knife out and just do this counter charge quickly, which is a little easier now than otherwise you kind of shuffle around with your grenades or your equipment, and you're always being hurt.
Yeah, it's always very fun when someone just runs at you with a knife, but now you won't be able to hear it even, so I always get so scared when that happens. Yeah,
so yeah, it's a small trait, right? Like it's just as one more thing in your stealth toolkit, and as such, it might appeal to specific playstyles, specific players, and let's see what kit combinations people come up with.
And actually, we have some videos displaying this, so let's take a closer look at that. Right.
So the first one, I think, is then without the trait, right?
Yes, it is without the trait. So you can clearly hear the weapon sounds. Let's do it one more time. Yes, and from this, now we will take a look at with the trait. So it's very silent. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good for ambushes. It's good to counter, actually, in terms of rushing in. It will have applications on both ends of the spectrum. Sure, it might benefit the one or the other camper. Then again, usually, well, they shoot you from a bigger distance. Otherwise, they have a shotgun already out. Or it's also nice for those people trying to attack or move around and know they have players really in the neighboring room or on the other side of the wall and can just like do the rush with the right equipment.
Yeah, but that's not all we have for you. We also have another trait. Which
yes,
is the Necromancer.
Necromancer. Now this one is going to be interesting. I'll be very curious to see how people react to this one. So this is basically the lesson learned a little bit from when we implemented I forgot the name already.
Serpent.
The serpent trait, correct. And this one is a really, really, really big one. You can see already the chat going crazy.
Chat is going crazy, yeah.
So this actually, let's talk a bit more about the details. What this does, because as everything in Hunt, even that trait comes at a certain price. There's always a handicap, always something you have to pay for it. And let's see what it is. Exactly. So it costs you like 2.5 hit points a second. It means in order to revive your friend, you actually will have to sacrifice a 25er health chunk in terms of like the amount of health that is in it. It puts you a bit of a disadvantage, and that also just means that you have to be very considerate when to use it, because you might need to heal up yourself afterwards if you have a 25er. If you have a 50, you might just need to regenerate it again, but then again, everybody knows the 50s have pros and cons. Like you can't only get down so much, and if it's gone, it's quite of a bigger hit for the remainder of the match. So
I actually have a question for this. What happens if you only have 25 health?
Well, if you have 25 health, I think it caps at 1. It will not kill you, but it will basically just sit there at 1. But I mean, you don't want to sit at 1 HP.
Yeah,
you don't.
Exactly.
Not if your partner is down, you're about to revive him.
I mean, even losing 25 health basically means that you can get one tap with almost everything. So
Yeah. So the idea here is the following. Like this is the idea what Serpent also had, right? You don't need to bring this into the mission, but the fact that it exists in the game already does quite a bit of a mix-up, right? Because you now have to plan for it. You have to expect it. And the idea here is that buddy camping is a real thing, right? People are just camping the buddies, and makes it very, very hard when your teammates are down to see that you can somehow get to this guy. Now, most of the time, you will still need to do that, right? But there is at least a chance for you to, maybe in a moment where you do some distraction, maybe if you're playing trios, maybe another partner is trying to do a flank on the other side, you can use that from your hiding space, from like at least a point where you don't have line of sight, or where they don't have line of sight on you, to kind of like get close enough and revive your partner from a certain angle, so that he can then get up, hopefully not get down right away, but that's something you have to be careful about. Like, what if he's lying in a poison cloud? What if he's being trapped? These are all things you will have to consider around that will come at a price. But there is the opportunity, and that makes it a bit harder for people to camp buddies, because they not only have to watch out for the other guy that might be coming, but they also have to always keep an eye out, at least sometimes, for that buddy, because it might start moving on its own.
Exactly. And by the way, guys, can we just take a moment to look at that beautiful trait art? I really love this one. It's one of my favorites, I think.
Ina is doing amazing stuff again.
Exactly. So
yeah, just go ahead with the rank.
Yeah, so it's available at rank 69, guys. So I hope you like that rank number.
So yeah, it's definitely like a late game one. There's also, I think there was already a question I saw about whether it stops the burning. No, it does not. Like, in order to stop the burning, you still have to physically go to a buddy and quickly at least tap the F button once in order for it to stop. So obviously, while doing it, it might pause it, as it normally does, but it will not stop it, extinguish the burning. So you will still need to see that you kind of like, if you can't afford to revive, you just can't get close enough to use that on him and just put out the corpse.
Yeah, and currently we have it priced at 4 upgrade points, which is a kind of medium price for it. But obviously we'll see on the test server when we have testing phase for this update to see how you guys like it and how you guys feel about it. And,
exactly.
And until then, we can actually show you how it looks in the game as well.
Yep, it's a very close experience to Serpent, obviously. So you can see there's like a guy up on the window somewhere, right? And then you just try to revive him from your shelter position. Obviously, this is just a quick test, so a real situation probably looks a little bit differently, but it's good enough. I mean, like with 10 seconds, it takes like more than 3 times the amount of time you normally have for this type of action. So it comes at a cost. It's not there for every situation, but it's good to have it in the pocket, just like Serpent, when situation arises. And the fact that it just is there in the game, even if I repeat myself there, it will just make people play a little bit differently, even if no one brings it, because you have to expect it.
Yeah, I mean, it will vary up the playstyle a lot. The same happened with Serpent as well. Like, it just adds more variety to the fights and more strategies. And you have to, like, even, like, if you think you killed a team already, there could be, or like at least 2 players from a team, they could easily come back with this trait, even though they didn't go to the buddies. So you have to be aware of that now.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a tactical thing. It offers new options and applications for people to kind of experiment with. It's the same level of quotes controversy about it, like Serpent had, where everybody was like, "Oh my god," and the other half was going, "Oh yes." That's just what happens when you do change, all right, in a game. Then sometimes people like stuff, but sometimes they don't, and some people love it, some people hate it. So again, the best thing is try it out on test server.
Exactly. But we also have other changes other than traits. So why don't we just jump into gunplay?
Yes.
I think it's one of Dennis's favorite topic anyway.
Oh yeah, that's another one. The chat will go crazy about this one as well. So first thing first, though, a weapon variant. So this is going to be just a very basic one. This is basically a new version of the Vandal that we introduced in the last update, and this one is the Striker.
It looks really cool, though. That's for sure. With a little saw in the
Yeah, exactly. Little the knifey blade in there. This is basically similar to what you already know from the Springfield Striker. Like it basically has a knife thingy attached, and you can use it for the regular and the heavy melee attacks. And basically that gives you a chance to bring this as a medium slot weapon and have a bit of a melee option. Maybe use it to do something different than a knife if you want. Just adds a bit of variety in there.
And we also have some movement improvements, which I think will be a very big change. So let's look what changed exactly.
Yeah. So this is like a bigger topic now, and this is the first part of it. So the movement improvements. Let's get to this part first. So in general, we refactored the controls. So one thing you might know or notice, I think especially the veterans are very, very familiar with this, is that sometimes the weapons feel a bit clunky, right? So you wanna quickly move after the shot, and you kind of still stuck in the bolt action in ADS because you didn't release the button, or because you did like the quick swapping. That's the only way to get around it, right? So the problem is that it felt always a bit weird. And now with these changes, basically we've done some improvements to how you move around and how you transition between different states. And that way you have a more free transition to actually get to the proper movement speed. So you might visually still be in ADS, but because we decide that you can already sprint, the sprinting speed is still there for you. So just open up the second one, please.
Yeah, so as Dennis said, like you're able to sprint right after you release the aim button. So you aim, and now you release it, and there's no weird delay and no clunkiness, but you're able to sprint right away, which makes it much more fluid. Yeah.
I think it was like one of the bigger problems, and we finally had a chance to get back into the weapon system and look at this. So the most important part here was to prevent it so that people feel they need to somehow use, for example, quick swap, etc., in order to get the full movement out of the game. Right? You see it a lot, like especially when you look at how veterans play the game, like some of your favorite streamers. They always had to use these kind of tricks in order to quickly press like the Q button to get to another weapon, just to cancel out and not have to suffer from this. And I think that it was just bad that you had to use any sort of workaround for that. So we made sure that like movement just works more reliably, works better. It's hard to actually show that in a video, so this is something you definitely need to go to test server for and try out, because it's very intricate in terms of like clicking the buttons and getting a feeling for it, etc. Like no video will be able to convey that properly, but I think it feels a lot nicer. It feels more responsive, and whether you're using gunslinger, whether you're hunter, or whether you use hold aim or toggle aim, you should feel a very strong improvement here. So yeah, as a very important point here, yeah. no longer need to actually do the quick swapping for this particular change, which always was something where people felt like they have to do this in order to get it out and be able to move and sprint, like peek the corner, shoot, and get back into cover right away. Now you can do it without necessarily having to do this.
Exactly. By the way, I think we somehow forgot to show the striker variant in a video.
Yeah, let's do it actually quickly.
We might as well do that before we go ahead. Yeah. So let's just look at it. So this is obviously how it looks in the store and how it looks on the character model. I still really like that saw in the end of it. Yeah.
I think visually looks awesome.
And as you guys can see, it's a medium slot like the Vandal variants.
I like also like how obviously the back has just been probably like slammed against like some tree, whatever, to just like rip
it's like
it
broken
off.
Down.
Yeah.
And I think we also have a gameplay footage of it. So this is how it works in the game.
Yeah, very, very standard, basically what the Springfield Striker is also doing. Just so basically the heavy attack is similar to what the knife's heavy attack is, and the regular attack is similar to what the knife's regular attack is. So think of it as having a knife on your gun. Just stamina consumption, so I think a little bit different.
Yeah, let's just look at it one more time and then... Perfect. Okay, so let's get back to our very controversial topic, as I see it from the chat.
Yeah, I mean it's impacting core movement, right? So it's understandable.
Exactly.
People are fearful of that one. What's important though is like that we need to kind of bring also a little bit of like balance into this whole thing and work this out. All right, we think we can move to the second here. So The biggest thing here was that we, yeah, you think you can go one more?
One more, sorry.
Yeah. The biggest thing here was like, so the whole topic of quick swapping, right? It was allowing you to basically sometimes even cancel out recoil. Like it wasn't just for the movement stuff, but it was also that people could just like in the middle of the shot, basically before you would even suffer from the recoil, already swap to the other weapon and then do your follow-up shot without having to actually deal with the recoil of the first gun. And that's something that we felt was very, very, very unintended, very exploity. So the change that we've been doing here is, if you take the next one, is that you will have to suffer the full recoil. So the quick swapping still works, and it's perfectly fine. Quick swap is here to stay, but at least you will have to wait until the weapon has jumped up before you will be able to swap out of it, right? So we're talking about a few frames, but still, it makes the whole thing fairer, and you can't really like get around, like for example, the Spark's recoil or any other weapon's recoil before you can ping up the second weapon, which might just make the follow-up shooting a little bit harder to do.
I feel like it also makes it a bit more realistic. Like
yeah, it's like
pretty realistic in the gunplay, so this makes it feel more real than just like switching the guns all the time after each shot, just to like get that animation cancelled and cheat the recoil, basically.
Exactly. I mean, just go to the next one already. Just gonna take this fluidly. So yeah, we continue talking about quick swap, obviously. I mean, it's here to stay, right? We're not gonna take quick swap away. We're not gonna even drastically nerf it, but we're gonna apply some balance to it. It's a feature. It's a dominant strategy that's being in the game, and it has to be subject to balancing changes like everything else in the game. So if you go to the next ones, one more. Like the dominant strategy, as we've just talked about, right? Like we will have always the issue that it's a game, right? And it's an abstraction of reality. And while the game has realistic elements to it, in the end, it needs to play well. It needs to be fun. It needs to be smooth. That's one of the things why we kind of put in the option to quick swap back in early access, right? Like when we started out in the beginning of 2018, we actually had much longer times for you before you could kind of pull out your weapons, and everything felt a bit slower, a bit more clunky, less responsive, right? And then towards the end of 2018, so like roughly, I think was like half a year or so into early access, we kind of reworked the weapon selection parts that you could much quicker draw out your sidearms, and it felt much better, more responsive. And that's a good thing. We will not go back on that. Like we will have that feature in. That's important. Now there was a thing though that it's if you go to the next one, it basically unintendedly brought in a dominant strategy that we didn't really wanted to see in the game, and we didn't really particularly foresee that it would become such a strong thing. But with having a chance to quickly swap your weapon, obviously, a single shot weapon now has a chance to do a follow-up shot rather quickly, right? And that has become one of the most dominant strategies, especially with weapon players, because it's skill play. Like it takes skill to do a shot and then swap the weapon, do the follow-on shot. It's something you can really only pull off if you have really good aim. So it's something that like it became like a bit of a status thing also for the veterans to kind of distinguish, I've mastered this technique, I'm really good at it, and therefore I rightfully kill people left and right. But while this is perfectly fine and right, it felt a bit too simple to pull off sometimes, especially with this recoil exploit that we mentioned before, where sometimes you would just not even have the recoil to come in there. So besides that, you have to now accept at least the recoil of the shot before you can quick swap. You will also have to at least accept that any sort of handgun, any pistol, one-handed pistol that you have, will have a little bit more sway the moment you enter ADS. So it kind of settles down a little bit. And that's something which obviously intention of it is to help with the quick swap topic as well. But you have to keep in mind that around the 1.0 release, we actually increased increased the accuracy of the weapons. We reduced the sway of the weapons drastically, and that kind of amplified this problem I mentioned in the beginning, like about this dominant strategy to quick swap, because it was even easier with 1.0 to kind of pull off these type of shots, right? So what used to be a bit of a skill move became actually something many people can easily, reliably pull off, and it became a very dominating strategy in the game. Obviously, those people who have perfected the system way before, I mean, for them, it didn't really matter much because they mastered it, but everybody else was much easier to follow suit, and it just became this really dominant thing. And by having a little bit of ADS sway, this is like, I think, a second or two maximum, and then it's kind of settles, the sway settles to the normal sway we have, the improved sway from 1.0. You do have basically the chance to kind of wait for that second to pass before you do a follow-up shot. Or if you're a skilled player, well, maybe you can compensate for the swing, you still land your hand shot. But overall, it's a bit more challenging. So I think it's actually a fair trade. It actually makes the whole thing more skilled again, like it was before 1.0. So maybe it's actually a good thing for some of the veterans because they can feel a bit more special about that technique being something they can only master. And I think in the grand scheme of things, it feels a little bit balanced. It feels a bit fairer. And especially compared to the other weapons in the game and the drawbacks, you don't really get around that with any of the other weapons. So I think it's a good thing. But again, it's something we need to have you guys be on the test server for. We want you to try it out. I want you to feedback to us, and it's especially important for us to see how the people who are really playing a lot of long ammo, they really enjoy playing the Sparks, Uppercut as a sidearm, how they feel about it, but also how the other people feel about it, like those who actually don't like that type of gameplay. It's something that we've seen kind of in social media, like on Reddit, for example. He said there has been several threads over the last weeks and month or so about this, kind of talking about this topic from different angles. Some really are going and defending it. Some were saying like, oh, this is really not how it's supposed to be and it feels like an exploit. What we try to do with these balancing changes here is try to strike a middle ground. We try to keep the feature. We try to keep quick swapping in the game as a viable tactic and also something that you can use to reward skill play, but we also want to bring a little bit more balance into it to make it a little bit more like less of this dominating strategy than it is right now, because I think even the veterans can agree that this is basically in widespread use at the moment. Every second person you'll see who's kind of using a long rifle, they're trying to pull this off in one way or another, and that's not really what we intended to do with this.
Someone was asking what happens if you have a precision variant for the handgun. Like let's say you have quartermaster with like a precision variant. How does the sway affect it there?
It's only handguns. So if you have it in one hand or if you have it in both hands, like a dual wield, then you will have this additional sway. If it's, let's say, a two-handed weapon, like for example a Mosin Obres, or if it's a Dolch Precision, or it's a Dolch Bornheim Precision or Bornheim Match, that is, then in this case you will just have the regular sway. So this is really just for the pistols, right? For one-handed pistols to make that technique a little bit harder. But if you invest into quartermaster or you bring one of these other weapons, actually they have a more stable holding, right? As you can use both hands to kind of stabilize, you can have the shoulder grip there, etc. So in this case, they work just like the rifles do, which is normally. So it's really just a bit for the pistols as a backup, and it doesn't really matter whether you quick swap or not. Every time you go into ADS, there's just a bit of sway before it settles down within a second or so, and this just makes it not as instant as it is right now, where literally people are really skilled, and I appreciate their skills a lot. They pull this off within a few frames, like fire weapon, quick swap, you don't even get the recoil from the weapon. Pistol is not even fully up, fires already, and basically the guy dies from a bam bam double tap, and that's frustrating for everybody involved. You can consider it skill, but it also is frustrating. I think we want to all ensure that there's a bit of balance and a bit more fair play going on.
Yeah, and I think that's about the quick swap, as Dennis said already. Please leave us all your feedback on social media, Reddit, Discord, and we will take it to consideration. Just make sure to play on the test server so we actually have your feedback before going live.
Yeah, and also that sway that we just talked about, this additional second of a bit of sway is actually, I think, still less than what we had prior to 1.0 on the pistols, on the weapons in general. So I don't think it's that bad. But again, ideally, try it out on test server the moment the test server is available for you, and then make up your own mind there and then feedback to us. Like, let us know what you think. Let's be constructive about it. I want to hear both ends of the spectrum and see if any additional tuning is needed. Does it go too far? Does it not even go too far? We would like to hear from you guys.
So another big topic that we have been focusing on, and with every update, like smaller changes, I believe, is onboarding for new players, which is obviously very important for the game.
Yeah, so like we mentioned this a little bit in the last dev stream, I think already, or the one before when I was part. Onboarding is an important part for this, right? I mean, obviously, this might be less of an exciting topic maybe for the people watching now, because we consider most of you guys being like the veteran community and having seen it all in the game, being dedicated and engaging. But in order for any game to succeed, you always need to get fresh blood in. You always need to have new players come in, and ideally they find a home and then stay and convert into becoming veterans as well over time, right? And the way you kind of experience the first couple of hours in the game are very, very important in that regard. Like, we need to create an environment for these players where they don't get massacred by veterans, for example, and they have time to explore the features, get to know stuff, do mistakes, but don't feel like totally punished. Because especially a game that is out for a bit. I mean, keep in mind we have like 2 years of early access. Like we are basically 1 year out now in our 1.0 plus live release cycle, and that means that game is out for a while. There's people who know how to play it, veterans, and anybody who comes at this point in any game that's been out that long will struggle a little bit, right? That's just natural. It's just normal. And we want to ensure that people have a chance to kind of like get into the game still, because we need that fresh blood. Like we as a community in general, we need these new players to help us to join, to populate the servers, to be there for our matchmaking queues, and be there either as cannon fodder or as worthy opponents over time. And that's something which is super important. I just want to stress it out before we go into the details, because this is a very, very important topic for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. Like when we receive the feedback from all the new players trying out the game, a lot of times they just get massacred right after exiting the training zone, and when their hunter doesn't live anymore, and they just don't enjoy or stick with the game. So obviously it's very important to help these players get used to the game, because you guys in the chat most likely have more than 2 years of experience, or 2 years of experience depending on where you started, and you know everything about the game, but it's hard to get in because it's a kind of hardcore shooter. So we have to have those newbie guys as well. And I just kill them like on the free weekend when you guys all go in and hunt for them.
Or ideally you can't even do that because they're protected. Let's take a look at what we have in mind for that. Right. So in general, I think one of the things everybody can agree with is like that sometimes just like the first couple of times you have to start the game and you click through the menu, etc. It's overwhelming, right? There's lots of stuff happening, lots of text to read, lots of information you need to pass, and some are even like get in your brain. And for the most part, I think people, again, like in most games, I suppose, they stop clicking away these things, start clicking these things away rather easily, right? Like, so it's just like, I don't want to even read it. I want to go and play, like go away menu. So one thing we want to do here is like reduce the menu time it takes. So for that, for example, we make sure now that you actually auto-assign a hunter. We don't give you a choice for your first hunter anymore. It's like a step that you can still recruit your next hunters, right? And you have all the freedom there. Just like the first one, we're just going to give you one of a number of skins. They're actually better looking skins now. It's not tier 1s only. Actually, you might get like a tier 2 or tier 3, some really badass looking ones. And you also have the normal traits and equipment that you would normally have with them, but we also gave them always a Winfield rifle, and we always gave them levering as well. So at least there's a chance that while they play the tutorial, while they get used to controls, they don't get killed by the mobs. And in the first rounds, they're a bit more competitive, even if they still need to unlock their trait, obviously, as normally in the progression later for the other hunters. It's just to kickstart them a little bit. As you remember,
the best thing is that they get to keep it after
exactly.
The training is over.
Exactly, like they keep it, and then until trainee mode, like rank 10 is passed, it kind of comes back from the dead, as you know, and then from that point on, well, you can lose it, and then you will have to build up from your own. But it gives a bit more like protection for these newer players, a bit more chance to actually be a bit more competitive, and have a chance to survive these first encounters.
And also, like having a cooler looking hunter is like a good incentive, I think. You want to have him,
So go for this one.
So you guys know the spider is a very, very scary boss, and it's especially scary when you're very new to the game. So we switched it to the butcher.
I mean, so this case we actually found it out with data. It's like it's one of these things that I would not have thought, honestly, this would be such an issue, but it's good to have some telemetry data that actually helps you sometimes understand like why people are like churning while they're leaving the game at certain points, etc. So it's something which is actually important for us. So what we did now is we swapped out the spider boss in the tutorial and the training mission for the butcher. Otherwise, the mission is exactly the same, right? It's just that actually there are a lot of people who are scared of spiders, and we found out there's lots of people who entered the lair, but they didn't kill the boss and they quit afterwards because they just couldn't take it, and that is perfectly fine. I am not a really big fan of spiders myself either, but if it comes to the point that people basically are aborting the tutorial because of that, then maybe it's actually the better option to just go for any of the other bosses that are not such a trigger point, and then move on from there. But it was an interesting find, and we wanted to share it with you. And yes, it's actually true. This really is the case.
Yeah, but I mean, like when you first play Hunt, I think it's a very scary experience in general. to everyone. Maybe you get used to it over time, but especially when you start hearing those spider like crackly sounds coming from the lair, and then you actually see how big it is, you are just like, okay, I'm done, Alt F4, bye. I can imagine that happening, because I do that in many horror games myself.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just really about, keep in mind, this is for the new players only, right? This is the training.
Yes.
So, and it's important that these guys have the easiest, the best time to go into the game and convert into people who actually really enjoy playing the game and like to then dig deeper, get more competitive, do their progression runs, do their prestigious eventually. But you first need to come across the first couple of hours, right? And we want to make sure that people are more likely to do that and become part of this great community, I think.
Yeah. And talking of great community, one of the most discussed topic lately has been matchmaking. So we made a special matchmaking for trainee mode.
Yeah. So it's actually, it was something that came up. I saw that in the chat already. So why don't you just fix matchmaking if the new players are? Well, the problem is a matchmaking system needs meat in the system, right? Like, so depending on the region, depending on the time of day you play on, etc., you have X amount of players playing, and there might mean that sometimes the waiting times for matchmaking are a bit longer, a bit shorter, etc. So it greatly depends and varies with the amount of people in it. And one of the things that we always have in our matchmaking system is that we prefer like full matches over not necessarily 100% fair matches, right? So we want to ensure that people have enough teams so it doesn't become boring, as they kind of like expect different contacts from left and right, have a chance to hear out and build this mental map of what's going on in this particular round. The moment you only have like 1-2 teams with you on the server, I think everybody agrees on it can feel a bit dull. But for new players, that topic is a bit differently, because they're still learning. They still have to take in the map knowledge. They still have to take in the AI. They still have to take in the paths, the routes, everything, right? They need to run through this several times. They need to build up this knowledge. So for them, being there with like 10 other players necessarily, if they're in a team, can be basically very taxing, because it's frustrating. So we give them a bit of a special treatment so that while they're in trainee mode, the new players actually are getting some kind of artificial matchmaking reduction, so they don't end up so often in the regular queues with the other players, and therefore it's more likely for them to maybe even have a bit less teams they encounter, sure, but I think that's actually a good thing for them. And then once they are past that particular hurdle, once they're past this initial couple ranks with trainee mode, then they're in a regular rotation. And the good thing is we're still changing their ELO ranking while they're in this particular bracket, so that the number in the background can still kind of gravitate towards where their actual skill is, so that the moment they will then be released into the wild, they actually do that with their proper rating, and they find the right space on the ranking to then find good matches after this.
Yeah, so as Dennis said, they joined the regular matchmaking after the training mode ends, and hopefully it's going to be a bit more accurate this way, because it's already tracked while they are playing these safer special games. What other things we have is loading screen changes.
Yeah, again, this is just a minor point as well. So, you know, the loading screen hints, and they had all sorts of things on them, and we kind of streamlined them a little bit also, and again, to target the new players. So we mostly kept those strings that are obviously for many of you Captain Obvious strings, but I think they're important still to kind of repeat over and over again. Like stealth gameplay is important. Manage your noise carefully. So we've kind of focused on these important first lessons new players need to learn, and have therefore better messaging for them, and hopefully it also translates them into them doing better, performing better, and sticking around.
Yes, I mean, usually like tips can be useful in the games, but when you are very like pro at the game and very used to it, then you don't really care about it, or it's very basic. Yeah. But it's very useful for new players, especially in Hunt, I think, because like for example, my favorite
emulators.
My favorite, yeah. There's a tip that I didn't know before I saw it in the tips, that like crows always fly to the direction where they've been scared of, and I actually learned that from the toolbar. So thank you, game.
Yeah, they always fly away from where you make the noise, so you can kind of like take away what path maybe the hunters might be taking. So yeah, and then obviously what we still want to do here is, if you go to the next.
Yeah, the next is actually a bigger change, I feel like.
Yes. So this is actually, it sounds bigger than it actually is. So don't freak out, chat. This is basically just that it's not quick play, right? In quick play, you only have these weapons and they're everywhere, right? But we still think that like maybe once or so in a compound, there could be a weapon hidden somewhere, right? And the idea is that those are just stock weapons, so it gives players like a chance to maybe find that Caldwell rifle shotgun, or find maybe like a Winfield rifle or a Springfield rifle even, maybe with a rare chance even a Sparks, or with a super rare chance maybe even a Nitro Express rifle, but good luck finding that one. The idea here is that players have a chance to kind of adapt in the mission, right? So what you can do with this is that, like, maybe just imagine a situation like someone is in the boss already, they're banishing, and the land of the lay is not in your favor. You're not in a good spot. You have maybe your long range rifle, but they do have an exit close by, and you kind of need to go close. You need to push in now, but you don't really feel comfortable doing that with your sniper rifle. Maybe you see that hand can lying around there, right on the barrel or something like that, and then you can make the choice if you want to maybe just for that fight, for that push, maybe quickly swap over to that one in order to give you the edge. So the idea is to just add a little bit of tactical depth into this, just giving a bit more flexibility so that players have a chance to kind of adapt. But again, you might find maybe two in a typical playthrough lying around somewhere. Maybe there are things that you think are interesting. Maybe you want to loot them even, but don't expect like to run into like military grade weapons. Like there won't be any bolt action rifles lying around and stuff like that. It's going to be thematically what people in this farm or whatever location might have had, and it's just what's left of them is that gun lying around somewhere on the barrel. And that's about it. It just adds a bit of flexibility, a bit of tactical variety into this.
And also, one good change with this is that you can actually go into the games without any weapons and just with your fists and see how long you can live or if you can find a weapon.
Exactly.
And of course, we have some pictures of this, so it's very similar to Quick Play.
Yeah, you just don't have the blue boxes, obviously. So they're just like, basically, they can just like... There. Yeah, they just kind of spawn like where normally stuff can spawn. So once in a while, maybe you come across something like that, and it just breaks things up a little bit. And it's not going to be the big variance, but maybe you find a Winfield marksman. I don't know. Maybe you find a Romero. It's like that type of stuff.
And we have more onboarding changes to come later with the next update. So in like update 1.5, this is not everything, but this is what we have for this update.
Yes, so we want to continue with the pop-up stuff, so like that you don't get too many of the pop-ups in the beginning. We've done some of them now in 1.4.4. There's going to be some more, for example, in 1.5 and later updates, just to streamline this process. It's an ongoing thing. There's also the idea to have further matchmaking improvements. We're still talking about the details of those, so I can't go too much into the nuts and bolts of those, but keep tuned on that. We'll talk more about it soon. And then in general, like a more streamlined menu flow, like do we really need to have specific screens at a specific time? For example, like linking the account to something, which obviously is really cool because you can get some extra $100 from doing that. But does it need to be right there on the first game, or is it fine maybe if that one would come a little bit later, like after a few matches? It's like things like that we're still talking about and seeing. And also for the loading screen hints, like moving forward, we don't have that. That's actually the reason why we kind of streamline this for the new players now, is that a new player right now that doesn't care about the bomb lands. Right, he will not come across a bomb plants very likely for a while, or he will not come across necessarily a dolt to care about that you can actually do the clip reload with it. Right, these are like, this is knowledge that is more appreciated by players who are like out of the trainee bracket already, like the mid range to even maybe some of the veteran players. And right now we cannot target these groups separately. We can only target everybody with the same hints, and we decided to for now go with the new player hints. And then once we have the option for this, we then have a chance to target the veterans or the players who've played at least like 20 or 30 hours with a different type of hint, with different information, to make it a bit easier, a bit more relevant also for them to learn maybe a thing. So I guess even that gives us a chance to put more hints in the game. And I would assume that even some of the veteran players, they would appreciate some of the more in-depth knowledge that we could broadcast that way, but which would just be irritating and confusing if it would also be appearing for new players.
And with that said, we also have some adjustments made to Quick Play to help new players as well.
Yes, better accessibility, good thing.
Exactly.
So what Quick Play should do, what we wanted Quick Play to do when we introduced it like a long time ago, is that it can be a place where players can learn something about like gear. They can train for PvP, right? They have a chance to kind of like practice in an environment where they don't put their hunter at risk, and also like where the games are more faster paced, and it's just more of a royale-ish almost is a word carefully to be used here, but a bit of a like what I think the closest to a deathmatch
King of
like
the Hill,
in yeah, exactly, like the like last man standing type of thing with their own way, but still feeling like Hunt in a way, right? And that was always the plan, but like looking at how people are playing it or how many people are playing it, I mean, people are clearly in for bounty hunt and not for quick play, right? And that's perfectly fine because bounty hunt is the main mode of the game. But we would still like to see quick play getting a bit more attention, and that's why we've been doing a couple of adjustments to it just to help maybe stream make it a bit more interesting and bring it back on people's radars.
Yeah, I mean, when someone asks like how they could learn the game when they're new players, my number one tip is to play quick play, because you can actually try out almost any guns, get a feel to the combat itself, because in the bounty hunt you see less enemies usually, or like at least not as actively as in quick play. So here you can get used to the PvP and learn all the mechanics, and then apply that in the bounty hunt mode.
Exactly. Right, it's this low risk environment, and I think that's very important that quick play is seen as that, as like a mode that you can just quickly jump in. Your friend isn't online yet, you still want to warm up a little bit. Well, play a round of quick play, right? Maybe you even take your hunter out if you win a round, and then you have a nice cool hunter to recruit later on already out of the box with a couple of upgrade points already ready, some good gear. I mean, that's like the premise of this, right?
Exactly, and you know, when a quick play always gives that old Hunt feeling, you know, when you're a new player, that heart pumping adrenaline. So if you need that adrenaline rush, you can always go in quick play and feel that over and over again. At least I do, because I suck at PvP.
All right, so what are we actually changing with quick play there? Not much actually, but we just a couple of small things. And there's basically looking at the starting gear, just to kickstart you a little bit better and maybe avoid some of the more frustrating moments that you had. So actually, this was feedback that we received also from some of the community guys we talked regularly. And I think it's good feedback, and we want to definitely act on that. So one of the things we always do is give players a random melee tool. Why we don't know if it's going to be the knife, the dusters, the knuckle knife, or the heavy knife. Obviously, I made sure there's going to be a strong bias of 99% that's going to be a knuckle knife. Nah, just kidding. But everybody will, when they spawn, basically have a melee tool at their disposal, and then it still has a chance to obviously maybe be the right one that you always liked, or maybe it's going to be another one. You can still find the others in the game, right? But you at least start with something. And then the next thing is that you also get a med kit by default, so that you at least have a chance to recover maybe from the first fight. You're not so dependent on the RNG of whether there's going to be some supply point you run into, or whether there's going to be some medkit. Just it levels the starting field a little bit, and hopefully that should be something where players have a chance to kind of push into the mid game of a typical quick play session more easily, and actually in a way that they still feel they have a chance to win this through and succeed. So yeah, just very minor changes in this regard, and also we've kind of like looked a little bit at the weapons I currently have in quick play as a starting options, and for the most part we didn't change anything, but we added a couple more as options. So you can now also start randomly with a Lamat if you go for the ranged gear. So obviously not the best pistol, not the best shotgun, but you get a bit of both, so that's actually pretty powerful, I think, in quick play as a starting option. And also you can get the Spectre Compact, which I think by now has some pretty good balancing compared to the other shotguns. So every shotgun, like from the hand cannon level, has some pros and cons. So I think this one will just fit nicely in there as well.
I see everyone is really happy about the Lamat as a possible starting weapon.
Yeah, it's actually funny, because it's one of the things we kind of overlooked a little bit, right? Like we never really revisited that list, like again, to see about the weapons and maybe challenge what is in there, and that's why some of these things just like ended up being like they are for a long time, and we might have actually looked at them a little bit earlier, but we didn't. So I think this is actually a healthy change. Just brings a bit more variety in, and we also added. You don't see the pictures for those here, but we also added some of the dual pistols as well. So obviously this is not like dual uppercuts starting here, or dual Paxes even, but like what you can get is a dual Nagant, or you can get a dual Nagant silencer even starting here, which is going to be I think pretty appreciated by some people. And also, I think the dual normal call to conversion can happen. So it just gives you a bit more options how you start, and then obviously it's up to you as you go to quick play. Like first compound, what type of weapons you find, whether you want to swap over, if you want to pick up a rifle instead, maybe find a pistol, maybe find some other medium slot weapon alongside. It's up to you, and it just gives you a bit more things, a bit more diversity. And I think maybe it's also a reason for some people to go and check out quick play again and try to see if they want to maybe spend a bit more time in that mode.
When you actually start with the Lomath, you kind of start with a medium range and the close range weapon at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I'm actually not quite sure if it is. I would be lying because I'm not 100% sure if it would be if it's in the short range or in the mid range kit. In one of the two, I think it's on them both, but it could very well be in the same that all the shotguns are. So the Lomath could be one of the shotgun options, but I'm not 100% sure of this. So again, maybe just try it out on test server.
And we actually have a video for this, so let's take a look how it actually looks in quick play.
Yep.
So as you can see, you can start with a double silencer, and you already have a knife and a medkit. How great. Yep. All right, then let's dive into the UI changes now that we've seen how it works in quick play.
Yep, you want to talk about those?
So we have some smaller usability improvement, which basically allows console players to move in the menu in shortcuts. We sadly couldn't prepare a video for you this time, but we will shortly have it, and then we will show you. But it just makes it much easier to navigate in the menus, basically, when you using a controller.
Yeah, so basically you have like shortcuts, and then depending on the menu you can use like the D-pad, for example, more reliably, just like quickly toggle between options, yes, jump around and stuff. So it's just like an additional layer for all the console players that makes the whole thing a lot more accessible. I think people will really appreciate this. And again, as this video boy was saying, we will show like a video of this separately once we have that. I mean, recording from console is always a thing, but we'll show you how it goes before it goes on live.
And we've also adjusted the backgrounds behind the weapons. It will look pretty cool, but the same as the other one, we will show you as soon as we can. But I'm sure you will like it a lot.
Yeah, you will already see it on test server anyways. It's just more of a cosmetic thing. It allows you to separate them a little bit more visually. It's just like a bit of a facelift for that particular part of where you kind of browse through your weapons in the roster and select them to understand which is a legendary, which is like a contraband, etc. It looks actually pretty awesome. You'll see it.
So the next bigger change is that we have added new hunter slots. So you can have more hunters in your roster to play with.
Yes. So we finally added like a proper option to do that. We've wanted to do this for a long time actually, but it sounds trivial, but actually we wanted to optimize how the bloodlines, the profiles are stored on the background server first, because like the more you put kind of save there for a player, the bigger they grow, etc. So it's all about database management, and we want to ensure that this doesn't have any negative impact. So now we saw that one out, so we can finally move forward with this change here, and it means you can basically get 10 extra slots. It's like a little scroll option. So if you have additional hunters, you can kind of use that. It's the normal price for the normal slot expansion. So it's up to you if you want to use it or not. You have the 5 there, but obviously looking forward to those level 1000 challenges.
Yes, we always see these amazing pictures of people having max level hunters, while myself, I only had like one in my career after 500-600 hours. So now it's your time to get to that level 1000, which is the next big milestone.
So yeah, it's more of a small little thing. I think some people, I mean, at least for myself, I think at the moment I was sitting on again like 7 or 8 level 50s, and then I usually use the last 2-3. So I kind of like to find a couple of recruits and put them in there. But I would personally definitely appreciate just having a couple more slots to hold hunters with different playstyles, different like sets, loadouts, quick play hunters I got, etc.
I'm actually like sitting on rank 100, I think prestige 3 or 4, and not prestiging just to get the achievement with the 5 max level hunters, but it's just so hard to get it. Alright, so we also have a bunch of new legendary content for you guys in the store, and I'm pretty sure you will like them because they look quite cool.
So yeah, the first one is the Springfield 1866 marksman skin called the Archangel for Fallen Bloodbounds, and it's actually a pretty amazing one. You want to read out the description?
Should we actually read it? Okay.
Yeah, we usually always did it thematically with Yannick. It's like her. So up to you if you want it.
Okay, wait. Wait, but maybe I should use some voice changer, but never mind. So in Christian scripture, archangels led the celestial host against the forces of darkness. In the bayou, this Springfield marksman is used to the same purpose, to drive the creeping forces of darkness out of the bayou and return the region to the divine light. Sounds very mighty.
It sounds very mighty, and the cat underlines this perfectly. In my opinion.
My cat is hungry a bit, I think. Or he just relaxed the skin, probably. We actually also have a video for this one. So
all right, let's have a look.
Let's take a look right away.
As you can see, like lots of cool details also, like on the scope, etc. I really like this one. I like the simplicity of it.
Looks so nice.
Yeah, like the simplicity of the wood, and with these elements of gold in there, actually, I think it's pretty awesome. I like it.
Yeah, let's look at it one more time, just so you guys can see it. I really like how the scope looks on this gun like this. It's so amazing.
And because of work from home, I quickly have to answer the doorbell. Be right back.
So guys, now you're stuck with me, so let's have some German jokes, even though I'm not German. But I think meanwhile we can move on to the next weapon, which is a Martini Henry Dead Eye. And it's called a Sacrosanct. This sounds very Latin to me, and I sadly don't really speak Latin, but it looks pretty cool with these inlays and the silver and gold color, I think.
Yes.
And it also costs 600 blood bones. I think the last one was 400, so this is a bit more pricey.
Yeah, neighbor appreciates that she got the package.
Then he just ordered some food during the stream. It's okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's read that holy words of this weapon. So, sanctified in something beyond mortal understanding, the work of this Martini Henry Deadeye is hallowed. Unfortunates who find themselves sighted in the purview of the Sacrosanct will face their sins all too soon.
Nice.
And let's just take a look at this as well in a video, I think. I love the camera work. What you did there.
Yeah, makeshift quickly doing a recording. Dudum, dudum. Like imagine like Jaws music now.
Very cinematic. Oh, those little engravings look really cool.
I think this one actually works very now well together with these the Jezeo weapon we released the last update.
Let's look at it once more, just because it's so well shot. We have to look at it. And it has like little pearls inside the weapon, or...
Yeah, there's lots of little applications and engravings and stuff. It's the level of detail is just amazing. I'm always stunned when the art team like brings a couple of these new ones for internal review. It's just amazing stuff.
All right, we can move on to the next one then, which is a Martini Henry again, but this time it's not the Deadeye, but the Marksman variant, and it's Oberon's Hound.
See, we make everybody happy.
Yeah, I actually seen some people in the chat asking for the Marksman and not Deadeye. So.
I don't like the Deadeye. Here you have it, Marksman right there.
And it also costs 600 blood bones, just like the last one. And let's look at the lore a bit as well this time, narrated by me. Named for the most fearsome and relentless hunter of the wood. In a bygone time, this rifle won its renown, taking down the prey edged on its receiver. Egret, doe, buck, and bear. Now, this Martini Henry marksman sights itself on bigger, deadlier prizes.
Like failed spawner.
No, like, if you see the fail spawner, you're already dead, so sadly,
that's very true.
Can't really use it.
Probably the scope doesn't help there.
Yeah. And let's take a look again. A little video with, again, from the other side. Very nice. As you can see, those are the doe, bear, and I can't remember what the third was, edged into the side. Looks really cool.
Yeah, when you're done with it, you can also edge like the hellhounds and the armored and the meathead in there.
Yeah, I mean, that would be cool. We need like dynamic.
I really love the scope on this one, like the wood application around it, etc. Like that looks like really, really nice. It has this vintage look, but like very high quality.
Yeah, and actually, like, you know, there's this knife with the deer on it. That's my favorite knife, and this kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, so, they go nicely hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be hunt if there wouldn't be some proper hunting weapons.
Exactly. And this, I really like how you can see like the details of the wood itself. You know, these lines inside the.
Yeah.
Looks so cool. All right, but we can move on to, I think, our last new legendary this update.
Yep.
Wow. This is a Nagant Precision called Polar Star, and some guys in the chat may think of a food anime, but it's not from that. And it's only 300 blood bonds, and it looks really cool. And as you can see, I think it's some Russian inspired.
Yeah, it's like Russian Navy as well.
Okay, let's just read it quickly. So Fyodor Brusilov was gifted this Nagant Precision to commemorate his first voyage as captain of the Polar Star. The ship never reached its final port of call, and all hands were declared lost at sea until this pistol turned up in the bayou. So it's pretty cool. And we obviously also have a video for this one. So let's quickly take a look. Oh, the map on the side.
Yeah,
so cool.
that's why I really like the precision used for this one. It's just like basically the map kind of like wrapped around the canvas there of the stock.
I think this will become one of my favorite skins, even though I don't really play with precision weapons, but I think it's time. Because this looks so cool.
I think the precision, actually, Nagant Precision is a bit underrated. But I mean, obviously, it got some very steep competition released recently with the Vandal, right? In terms of medium slot. But actually, what I like about the precision is just that it has also almost like zero recoil, because like the shoulder stock always compensates for that little bit of recoil that a pistol has. That otherwise would be kicking much more. So it is actually a pretty nice thing. Maybe not a headshot machine as the carbine, but it gets close sometimes.
Yeah, and it definitely looks real amazing. So, and it was just 300 blood bonds. That's like insta buy.
Yeah.
All right. So, but this is all the new legendaries we have for you. But we also have some news regarding our previous DLC, Double or Nothing.
Exactly. So we got some feedback about this one, and we weren't quite happy with it ourselves yet. So we did some more work on it, and actually are updating it to now have every version of the weapons that came with it also be available as a single weapon. So technically, what was before is that you would only be able to get them as the bespoke sets, right? So you would get the Jackal and Hyde, which is basically exactly those two pistols as a medium slot choice. But now you actually do have the Jackal and the Hyde as separate weapons. And if you combine them as dual wield set, they then convert into the Jackal and Hyde again as a single thing. So you still have the same thing where you get killed by the Jackal and Hyde on the death screen, for example, but you can also choose to bring just a single one of them and combine them in any way you like.
Yeah, someone was asking if you can loot them separately, but I guess that is
so basically, while you're inside the mission, they are being basically like equipped as a set, right? And like any of the other dual wield sets, you would need to take the full set. But once you're out of the mission, you can then obviously just break them down in your inventory, and then you have two basically weapons you brought off the bayou, just like with any other dual wield set.
Very cool. And talking of DLCs, we will have something really cool coming up soon, which is called Live by the Blade.
Live by the Blade. It's like an upcoming DLC. We'll have that available shortly to you guys, probably a bit after the next update goes on the live servers. And that one has a focus of melee weapons and tools and stuff like that. Obviously, I couldn't resist putting like a legendary knuckle knife here. Hate is gonna hate. And there's gonna be obviously a couple more things in that DLC. So stay tuned on that.
So other than the DLCs, we also have some other updates for you, which are very frequently asked and important, such as support for next-gen consoles, so for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox One X. No, Xbox Series X, both. Confusing.
You seem to be a console player, right?
Yeah, I have only PlayStation, so. Yeah,
the next generation consoles.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we definitely want to support the game on those. We're still in the process of working out how exactly that can happen. So we're not ready yet to talk about this in more details. So the one thing we can say, however, is that whatever plan we come up with and want to execute on will not be on the launch date. So just to make sure, I think we can manage expectations here. I think that will be maybe disappointing for some people. I think it's at least fair to let you guys know in advance that at least on the release date of the consoles, we won't be able to have Hunt readily available. But we think it would be very strong to have it on new generation consoles, and we're working out a plan on how that can happen.
Exactly. And talking of big topics just like the next-gen support, there has been something we supported previously, but then it disappeared, which is GeForce Now, and we are happy to let you know that it's officially back, so you can play Hunt on it.
Yeah, so this took us a bit. So sorry for the inconvenience it has caused, but it's finally been resolved, and we are now officially back on that platform. So everybody who's been playing this on GeForce Now, enjoy.
And as I can see the chat, there has been some very big questions about what else is to come. So let's see what is coming this year still. And we are pretty close to the end of the year already. So what could it be? Oh. Wow, it's a new boss target, guys.
Yes, so as you can see already, I mean, from the roadmap, and a couple of things have been announced there already for some time, but something that is really something we're working on really, really hard right now. We're making some really good progress on this, and while we won't be able to show you a picture or something today, but I'm pretty sure we will be able to tease this properly over the next weeks or month. So this is something we're super excited about, and we definitely would like to get that out this year still, and we're very confident that this can happen.
Another bigger addition that is coming this year is the custom ammo types, which I think already has been mentioned a few times.
Yes, custom ammo types is another big topic. So this will come probably out alongside the boss as well, like in what we currently anticipate being the 1.5 update, next big update. And custom ammo types we talked a little bit about in some of the dev streams before. It's basically a way for you to kind of like customize your weapon before the match with non-standard ammunition. Obviously, they would become special ammo in the case in terms of that you need like the special ammo packs to resupply it, not just regular ammo boxes. So there's always, as with everything that we build for this game, there's like advantages and disadvantages in trying to establish some sort of a balance. But I expect things like slug ammunition for shotguns, expect things like incendiary rounds for certain rifles or pistols, and the list goes on with all sorts of different ammo types so that you can specialize. Again, the idea here is that each of these types comes with something that it brings on the table, but also will lose something, so it's always about balance. There won't be that one ammo type that you just go for instead of regular ammunition because it's flat out better in every situation. But there will be more about that when we talk about the next big update.
Exactly.
So it's a big thing for us, and I think it will be very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it will bring a lot of diversity for the game and a lot of customization options, which I've seen some of it, Danny showed me, and it's really cool, so I'm really excited for it. But we have something that we haven't really had before, and it will come very soon, the first one at least, which is in-game events.
Yes, so it's something we won't yet talk about what it will be, but it's something which I think is important for this game moving forward. Also, like to give you guys like cool new ways of experiencing the content in part of events. If you remember, we had our Twitch drops campaign in June, right, which was technically also a bit of an event type of thing, and we have more in store. And we want to try different things here, and so some really exciting stuff that's linked to this as well. So we'll be able to talk more about this in the near future as well.
And now you've seen what's coming this year, but let's see what's coming early next year, which I think everyone has been waiting for in the chat. It's map 3.
Map 3. Ooh. So yeah, it's being worked on. It's on the list. I mean, populating a square kilometer with the amount of detail that we have in our game is a challenging thing, especially if you then need to balance it for paths, for gameplay, etc. And it will definitely be worth the wait because it's actually pretty amazing already. So it's planned for the beginning of Q2 at the moment, and we'll probably have a lot more information about this on the way to that. Maybe even this year. We don't know. Let's see.
And as we mentioned before, we will have an event coming very soon, but we will even have more in-game events, so you guys will definitely enjoy that, and we can't just tell you what it's gonna be, but I can tell you that it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, no spoilers and no teaser there whatsoever. Yeah. I know. I think it's actually something which is really cool. I mean, obviously, keep in mind these are just the highlights, right? There will be additional stuff around it, be that weapons, be that other content, be that bug fixes, be that other features. This is just like to give you a bit of a teaser of like these are the highlights that are really important. I think that's also the stuff that you guys are looking for the most. So, and again, in the interest of fairness with the community, I think it's important that we allow you guys to kind of understand at least what's the roadmap roughly and want to expect stuff, and so that we can all together work towards that and yeah, get excited.
Yeah, exactly. And we kind of forgot to show you how the double or nothing looks in game, so let's quickly do that before we forget. So let's just take a look how you can separate the weapons.
Yeah, that's just a quick video, but yeah. As you can see, like the two pistols being equipped in that order, and then in your inventory they just turn into what was before, like this one specific.
Yeah, it gets the name as well, yeah. Checking on hide. Very cool.
Awesome.
And I think that's the end of our presentation, but it's time to answer some of your questions in a Q&A kind of format. So if you have anything to ask, I think it's the time for it, and we will try to choose some of your questions and answer them. So Dennis, please look at the chat as well.
I'm looking as well. It's so fast. It's so fast.
Should I slow it down maybe?
Yeah, so anything about the new map or anything about the boss, we'll have to wait for the next dev streams before we can reveal more information. So unfortunately, we'll have to ignore all questions about those. But if you focus on what we've talked about today, be that like the new content, be that the changes we've been doing, like the additional maneuverability for the weapon system, etc., just ask away, and we try to happily answer them.
Oh my god, it's so hard to read.
Need to put in slow mode. So yeah, it's also something which comes up a lot here is the reconnect feature. This is being evaluated still inside, like internally. We've talked about this a little bit in the past, that reconnecting is actually a tricky thing to do because it needs serialization. What that means is that when you come back into a game, you need to basically be told from the server everything that has happened. And if the game doesn't support it by default, building it in is actually quite a bit of work. We're currently still assessing the workload in that one, and we would like to have that in as well. So bear with us a little bit longer until we can talk about what would be the expected outcome there, and when and if we can get it, etc.
I'm trying to. Someone wants a PvP only mode, but I mean all our modes are PvP only, so.
Yeah, I think with a PvP only mode, then the problem is like, I mean, it's not really that fun if you run around an empty map and then have 12 players and then you just find the other players, right? So there would need to be a lot more work to such a mode to have custom rules for etc. And at the moment, that's not the focus. I think we have a very strong PvP component in Bounty Hunt and in Quick Play at the moment. So I think what Hunt's formula, gameplay formula, kind of comprises is that mix between the PvE world and the PvP side, right? And then being able to use and play out one against the other, like triggering the hive or the dog so they attack the other team maybe even, or being able to somehow while other players are occupied with some enemies, like do something against them. I think it's just a part of our toolbox of features, and it's important that these two things stay together because they've been designed to remain together. Like everybody who is playing the tutorial, for example, or the training mode, replaying that as you can, or they know it's not going to be as exciting, right? Because there's no other player that comes at you. So the PvE part on its own really needs to have the PvP part to go along. Like one is the catalyst for the other, and only in combination will they result the typical Hunt gameplay. So as such, we want to like to focus on that.
Someone asked if a hunter is on fire and you use Necromancer to bring them back to life. Are they still on fire when they get up?
No, the moment they finish getting up, they are actually not burning. But you can't use Necromancer to just stop the burning. You just can't like blow like over distance and extinguish the flames. You need to complete the action, and then they're obviously no longer burning. But if they're still lying in a fire volume, right, like some fire, whatever, obviously they would get reignited instantly as normal. So when you revive someone with Necromancer, you have to be really careful about what the surrounding is. Have they been trapped? Are they like sitting in a poison cloud? Or are they sitting in a fire area or whatever? Because obviously that might get them killed again very quickly, and then you have a team kill on your hand. So it's down to whether you feel you have the time to pull it off, because you have to use like Darkseid for it, and that means you kind of numb around what's happening in the regular world around you, like someone might be sneaking up on you. You need to have a stronger time commitment for 10 seconds, and you need to really at least understand what is going on, whether it's not the right time to do it, and whether you can suffer the health cost it takes. So there's lots of considerations. That's why it's not a trait that is available right from the early ranks on, but in combination, I think it gives players a chance to kind of like maybe pull a trick or two on their opponents and maybe get their teammates back up on their feet in a way that helps the gameplay, helps to keep the gameplay running and fluid, and prevents stalemate situations like camping the corpse, etc., which very often then results in someone giving up or not moving at all, and maybe even going to an exit only then to basically come back with his friends in the next round. And I think if this like a feature that helps kind of keep the game running and keep it fluid, I think that's a healthy change. And again, we would really like to hear what you guys think on test server. And speaking of test server, I've been told that test server seems to be doing good. So you should be able to go on test server today, maybe even already right now. I'm not 100% sure. So you'll be able to try all of that stuff out tonight and over the weekend, and then give us some feedback.
Yeah, I've seen some like 4 or 5 frequent questions that a lot of people ask, so let's just go through those. So we mentioned only PvP game mode, so a lot of people asked after that if we will ever have a new game mode like deathmatch or anything different than quick play and bounty hunt.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, if the game keeps on growing and we have more people come in, at least obviously we try to accommodate different gameplay styles, different game modes, etc. Right now, it's not a priority. However, right now the focus is on getting some of these features we have been having on the roadmap for a very long time out to players, and just improve the game in this area, as well as what we mentioned a bit in the middle of the stream, like the onboarding section, right? Like getting new players stay with the game, make sure that they understand what's going on, being kind of like nudged into this and eased into this gameplay, so that they find the fun and then enjoy and convert to veterans. And then once we're done with this part, obviously we also would like to explore different areas of the game again, and that can also include new game modes. Sure.
Sounds good. So a lot of people asked if there's gonna be a preset loadout, so a loadout that you save and then you can just instantly equip it if you have like the money for it or something. Yeah,
we're looking into that actually. I can't really talk too much about it because it's still in the concepting phase, but it's something where we're looking into, and whether this is going to be 1.5 or whether this is going to be an update after that, I cannot promise yet. But we want to have a bit of control there for players to at least have some presets, maybe to kind of ease into this. Like, okay, I I have these cool weapons like the Sparks uppercut, for example, and I want the guy to just equip those quickly, then the preset should be able to do that. But we will be able to talk more about the details and how this will work and etc. In an upcoming stream.
Okay, so let's answer 2 more, which I've seen. Is Hunt ever gonna support ray tracing?
I cannot really talk about that because I'm not a technical person, as you know. I just try to define the game rules here. So I would be the wrong person to talk about the roadmap in this regard. But it's something that maybe down the line we have a chance to follow up on, like maybe with a community post, etc.
Cool. And the last question I think we should answer now is about weathers and times of day. Are we gonna have any new ones in the foreseeable future, or currently not one?
We want new time of day. So we have a few ideas that we've been throwing around and testing for a while already. We don't know yet when the right time will be to release them. Again, we mentioned like events, for example, to be a thing. So maybe they're going to be linked to one of those. You don't know. And weather is something we talked about a bit. Like the sound in Hunt is so important for the gameplay that while you can probably in CryEngine do some really awesome sound work around rain, the problem is that the moment you do that, you will hear awesome rain, but you don't hear all the other things that you actually normally rely on. You don't hear the footsteps, you don't hear all of the other things that you might need and are looking forward to. So I would prefer to be very careful with weather effects just because it might have a negative and detrimental effect on the gameplay.
Yeah, I think that should be it for now for the questions. Guys, if you have any other questions or your question wasn't answered, all the time feel free to ask us on Discord or write us on social media, and we try to answer all your questions. We answer every Facebook message, so you know you can always message me personally there, and I will get back to you.
BD is personally.
So yeah, sorry if we couldn't have the time to answer your question, but I hope we answered a lot, and hope you guys enjoyed this stream.
Yeah.
We will
and
also
enjoy test server. Enjoy test server.
Yeah, just go
that's
test,
a very important part. Yeah, let us know. Feedback to us. Let us know what you think about test server, about the changes, the good things, the bad things, the things you would like to see changed in whatever way, or the things that you're really, really happy about. That's important. We need that feedback, and yeah, get back to us, and hopefully also populate the test server so that everybody has a chance to actually try this out against other players, because some of these changes are very PvP heavy. So obviously you need other players who want to try them out, right, to get a real feeling for it.
Yeah, so guys, thank you again for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. We wish you like a good night or good morning or afternoon, wherever you are. And that's it for now. And we hope to see you next time. So goodbye.
All right, bye-bye.